David Ritchey, your host. We're going to take a break from straight Florida State football, and we're going to go through the college football bowl schedule 2022-2023, and we're going to pick our winners. But before we get into that, I would say it's been a very good week for the Florida State Seminoles. We have a lot of people coming back. We have still yet to be told that some people that we would love to come back are not coming back, so there is still hope out there on the horizon. And we have also had a lot of recruits coming in and out. It's just been a good week, trending in the right direction, trending in the very positive direction. I used to tell my dad that the football in Florida ran on a cycle. Florida State would be at the top for a few years, but we got to be smart enough to know it's going to cycle back down, because right now Florida State, I mean, who would have thought, again, and we say this all the time, about 14 months ago that we would be saying Florida State's the top dog football program in the state of Florida. But they are. They're the one that is trending the most upward. And I would say Miami is closest to the bottom and Florida is somewhere in the middle. And we've got to be smart enough to know that that's going to cycle. But my hope is this is the start of the newest cycle. And that Florida State's about to stay at the top, for an extended period of time before it cycles back. And what will happen is both of those schools will improve. And the next thing you know, one of them will overtake us for a couple years. But the difference is if Norvell sticks around and Norvell can sustain, and I will say I think that is why I like the foundation that Mike Norvell lays. I believe it is sustainable. As a principal, I will always tell the staffs when I take over, I will come in, and a lot of them have had principals that scare them or that threaten them, and they get immediate results, but I never believe that those results are lasting. To me, I tell my teachers all the time, my goal is to empower you to be the best version of you so that you can be the best version of you to make the students you teach the best versions of themselves. And to me, and I'm not saying I'm the guru of all, but to me, that is sustainable. When I leave, that doesn't change. You still can be the best version of you because you have not done it in fear or because of me. You've done it because of you. And I think that's what we have at Florida State. We've got a program that is, the foundation is so strong. The culture is so good. And the guy leading that culture, it's not fake. It's genuine. It's real. And as long as he continues and they continue to recruit the right kind of kid that fit into that, which they seem to hit at a very high rate, then there's no reason for us to think that the Florida State Seminoles are not going to be only getting better and staying at the top for a very long time. Okay, I said this wasn't going to be about Florida State football, so let's move on. We are going to go through the college football bowl schedule, and we're going to give my picks just so we can re-listen to it and see how many I got right and how many I got wrong after this is over. All right, we are starting on December 16th, and I'll tell you the ones that I'm kind of excited about. Used to, I would watch every bowl game. I didn't care who played. It's college football. I'm all about it. People that say they want less bowl games, I've never been that guy. Give me as many as you can, because when college football is over, it is just a depressing life. And I think it went faster this year than it has ever gone. It goes faster than any other sport known to man. It is better than any other sport known to man. And it just, man, when it's over, there's just nothing that can replace it. So I say give me bowl games every day. But that being said, now these days I don't get to watch them all because I'm so busy. But if I get home late from something I'm doing, from some game I'm having to serve duty at, or from choir concerts I have to go to, or band concerts I have to go to, I will still tune in whatever bowl game is on. So let's get going. December 16th in the hometown Lenders Bahamas Bowl, you got UAB and Miami, Ohio. My excitement scale for this on a scale of 1 to 10, I don't know, maybe a 3.5. It's not one that I'm just going to be dying to watch, but I'll watch it if I'm around. But I'm going to pick UAB. December 16th at 11:30 a.m., I'm picking UAB. All right, second game. December 16th, the Duluth Trading Cure Bowl. Troy versus UTSA. This one I have a little bit more of excitability rate. It's in the 5 to 5.5s because of UTSA. Me being a Texas guy, that's been a great program to watch. It's been fun to watch them improve so much over the last few years. So that's on December 16th at 3 o'clock, and I will be picking and pulling for UTSA. December 17th at 11 o'clock a.m., the Wasabi Fenway Bowl. Cincinnati versus Louisville. This, to me, is one of the early bowl really enjoyable matchups for me. I mean, that's just like a 6 or a 7 for me. Louisville, obviously, being the ACC team, I follow them closer than a lot of other people here do in Texas. And Cincinnati just being the pretty much group of 5 powerhouse that they've been the last few years, that's an exciting game. So I'll say a 7. I will watch that game unless I absolutely cannot. And I will pick Louisville. I think it's going to be close, though. All right, the Cricket Celebration Bowl, December 17th at noon. Jackson State versus North Carolina Central. I mean, well, I watch it because of Deion to see how it ends with him there at Jackson State. I'm picking them. I'm picking them big. I just think they're going to be more talented than North Carolina Central. It's not overly up there on my excite scale, probably in the 2.5s to 3s. I've watched Jackson State a few times this year just to watch his son play quarterback and to watch Travis Hunter, but I don't know. I'm real curious how it's going to work in Colorado. I think it's going to work well. I'll just put that disclaimer out there. I think Colorado made a very smart move. I mean, think about it. They have been on the down and out for a long time. They have not been the Colorado of the late 80s and early 90s for a very long time. So why not inject excitement? And there's no other coach that was available that is going to inject the interest and excitement in Colorado Buffalo football. I mean, they did something that none of the other big colleges have been brave enough to do, and that's hire Coach Prime. So I'm proud of him for it. I do not dislike Deion. He's different. He has every right in the world to be very egotistical, and I think he is, but I also bet his kids love playing for him. And, so go Colorado. I'm excited to watch how that turns out. But on December 17th at noon, I'm saying Jackson State wears them out. All right, the PUBG Mobile New Mexico Bowl, also December 17th at 2:15. We've got BYU versus SMU. And again, being from Texas, and my father actually played football 1 year at SMU. He was one of the original, the OG grad transfers because he played at SMU and then ended up going to North Texas to play with old Mean Joe Green. But he did play at SMU, and I'm from Texas, and I'll be pulling for those guys. And BYU, I had a friend at the last place I worked that was a big BYU fan, so I'm going to pick BYU, but if I'm around, I'll watch it, but I'm not going to rearrange my day to watch it. That's an excite scale of probably a 4 for me. All right, the Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl, Fresno State versus Washington State, December 17th at 3:30. I would watch it. I'll say that's an excite scale of a 4.5. I enjoyed watching Washington State back in the day when Mike Leach was there. Fresno State sometimes puts a pretty fun product out on the field, so I might watch it. I don't remember already if I said the excitability scale, but it's a 4.5-ish, and I will pick Washington State. Another December 17th. That's a busy day for bowl games. The Lending Tree Bowl, Southern Miss versus Rice, December 17th at 5:45, and I doubt I will watch a single snap of that one, but I'm going to pick Southern Miss. Also, December 17th at 7:30 p.m., the SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl, Florida Gators versus Oregon State. And I will never yell for it, nor will I ever pick the Gators. So I'm going to go Oregon State in the SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl. Excitability scale probably in the 5 to 6s. Florida's not a team I enjoy watching unless they are getting beat by the Florida State Seminoles. I'll watch some of those big SEC games. I do enjoy watching Oregon State, so if I watched it, it would honestly be for one reason, to see the Gators get beat. Next one. Still, December 17th at 9:15. On December 17th, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games. That's insane. I think I'm going to be at the UIL Texas State State football championship games that are at UT. I can't talk. At AT&T Arlington, Jerry Jones World that day, so I'll probably miss a lot of these. But on that one, Boise State versus North Texas. And you heard me say a while ago, my father played 1 year at SMU, then he went to North Texas and finished out his playing career. And he is still a huge North Texas fan. So I will be pulling for North Texas. If I was not at Texas High School State Football Championship games, I would definitely watch that one for my dad. Unfortunately, Dad, I'm going to pick Boise State, but I will be pulling for the Mean Green, I promise. If I wasn't busy, that'd be an excitability scale of probably in the 6 to 7s again, just because it's cool when your dad played at a school to watch him play. Man, that's a lot of games. All right, then we go back to not so many games in a day on December 19th. The Myrtle Beach Bowl, UConn versus Marshall. 2:30. I do not know what day of the week December 19th is, but if I'm not having to do duty at a basketball game, which I don't think I am because I know I do the 20th, I'll watch it. Why not? I'm picking Marshall. Excite scale is not very high. Probably a 5, but why not? I'll watch that one if I'm not at work. All right. The famous Idaho Potato Bowl. San Jose State versus Eastern Michigan, December 20th at 3:30. I don't really have any interest in watching that at all. That's probably in the 3s. Apologize to any fans of San Jose State and Eastern Michigan. I am going to pick San Jose State in that one. All right, theroofclaim.com, Boca Raton Bowl. Toledo versus Liberty, December 20th at 7:30. Those two teams are fun to watch. They typically, in my experience, are on nights during the year that other teams aren't playing. So I enjoy tuning into them. I think it's going to be a close one. I'm going to pick Liberty. I don't know why. I'm just going to go for Liberty right there. All right, moving on to December 21st at 9 o'clock p.m., a late night one, the R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl, South Alabama versus Western Kentucky. I used to have a Western Kentucky intramural shirt back in the 90s. I have no idea how I got it. I think the flag football team that I was on, which was named the FFD at Texas Tech University at the time, we made it to whatever you would call it. We would call it state or nationals, and I'm pretty sure in the world of flag football there's not such thing as nationals. I'm betting there's a whole lot of things like that all over the world. But I think I met some people from Western Kentucky that day, and we swapped shirts. So why not? I'll pick them. Western Kentucky. I don't think they're going to win that, but I'm going to pick them. That's December 21st at 9 o'clock. Excite scale, very low. We're in the 3s. All right, Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl. December 22nd at 7:30, Air Force versus Baylor. This one's probably a 5.5. I enjoy watching Baylor. Air Force's style of play is still fun to watch. I was not a Baylor fan back when they were really good, but I still like to watch them. It's like the Dallas Cowboys. People ask me who my favorite team is, and I always tell them it's whoever plays the Dallas Cowboys. But if you ask me which game I look most forward to watching every Sunday, it's the Dallas Cowboys. And I don't know if I pull for them to lose or what. But Baylor, I love the stadium. I've seen it a couple times. It's just a cool place. It's a cool story. So I'm going to pull for the Baylor Bears. And I think the Baylor Bears will win that one on December 22nd at 7:30. If I said the Excite scale, I don't remember, so it's above 5. Radiance Tech Independence Bowl, Houston versus Louisiana, December 23rd at 3 o'clock p.m. I fell in love with the Independence Bowl as a young kid going to my grandmother's house around Christmas. It was always one, if not the only, college football game on while we were all sitting around. And there was not just a whole lot to do in Abernathy, Texas. She had a basketball goal outside, but a lot of times in December it was too cold to go out there and play. This was back before video games. We did not have a Nintendo. We did not have even an Atari. And so it was pretty much a piano, an organ, a lot of board games, and cable TV. And I remember watching the Independence Bowl every year there, and I actually looked forward to watching it because it was a break from having to watch whatever my grandmother had on that TV. So, Independence Bowl, you get a 10 on the Excite scale just because you saved me and you were a lot of fun to be around. Who's going to win? I'm picking Houston, not Louisiana. Yeah, I'm going to go Houston, December 23rd at 3 o'clock. All right, the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl. Another ACC tie-in bowl. Missouri versus Wake Forest, December 23rd at 6:30. All ACC bowls, guys, will be over a 5. I enjoy watching the teams we play throughout the year to see how they do. I pull for some. It's not because I think Florida State's not playing. We want ACC to win. I do like it when the ACC fares well because there's so much SEC, Big Ten love out there. There are certain teams that in the ACC I just cannot pull for, a.k.a. Clemson, a.k.a. Miami. Wake Forest is different for me. I hate that we have just gotten in such a rut against them as Seminole fans the last few years, and for whatever reason, we cannot figure out this crazy offense that they run with Sam Hartman. That being said, I don't have any ill will against them except for the nights that they continue to beat us. So I'm going to pull and yell for Wake Forest on December 23rd at 6:30. I think that would be a cool win. All ACC bowls will be an excite level of above 5. I don't think that's much over a 5, probably like a 5.3. But if I'm not doing nothing, I would definitely watch it. And I don't think I will be just looking at the date because I get my sons this year on the 1st. So I'll probably be watching a lot of these early bowl games. All right. The Easy Post Hawaii Bowl. San Diego State versus Middle Tennessee, December 24th at 8 o'clock. I don't know, man, what I'll be doing on Christmas Eve. I might be over at my parents' house, and if so, I don't know that this will be on or not. My dad's an ex-football coach, too. But when we're on Christmas Eve, there's lots of board games and stuff being played. So if it's on, it'll be on in the background. It is not one I will say, hey, we got to stop all Christmas celebration and watch this game. It is not that. It's probably about a 2.5 for me. San Diego State versus Middle Tennessee. I believe, not knowing anything, Middle Tennessee might have had a really important victory for us earlier this year. So I will pull and pick for them, even though normally I would pick San Diego State. But just because of Middle Tennessee putting that thumping on somebody earlier in the year, I'm going to pull for Middle Tennessee and pick Middle Tennessee. Excitability score, 2. The Quick Lane Bowl, New Mexico State versus Bowling Green, December 26th at 2:30. Excitability skill 2.2. Probably won't watch this one. New Mexico State, Bowling Green. I'm going to pick Bowling Green. Nothing about that excites me at all. The Camellia Bowl, December 27th. All right, we got us another day with multiple bowl games. It looks like there are 4 bowl games on December 27th. We have Georgia Southern versus Buffalo at noon. I'm going to pick Georgia Southern for no reason. Excitability skill 2. Probably, if I'm at the house, will get up and work out during this one and clean my house for the rest of the day and have it on in the background. Serve Pro First Responder Bowl, Utah State versus Memphis, December 27th at 3:15. I'll watch this one. Ever since I remember watching Memphis even before Mike came to us. But when we hired Mike, I wanted to go ahead. Once his name started being rumored, I started watching him, and just to kind of scout out the guy we were getting. And, if Mike liked him, I liked him. And so I'm going to pull and pick Memphis. Excitability score, we'll go with 4.8. It's definitely one I'll watch, but if somebody calls and says, hey, do you need help move? I need help moving something. I'll probably, if it's a good friend, I'll go. If it's not a good friend, I'll tell them I'm busy. Ticket Smarter Birmingham Bowl, also December 27th at 6:45 p.m. East Carolina versus Coastal Carolina. I'll pick East Carolina, and I probably won't watch a lick of it unless I got nothing else to do. Excitability score, this is probably the lowest one so far that I've seen, 1.1. Same night, 10:15. Man, we're getting late, and these are Eastern time, so for me that's 9:15. I guess I should have been translating these the whole time. Wisconsin versus Oklahoma State. That game sounds really fun to me. Oklahoma State, once they got off to a great start. Once they got beat, it's like you've heard me say if you listened to this before. I believe they were in the college football playoff talk. The second they got beat, they immediately knew they were out of it, and they kind of checked it in. That's the reason I can't wait for the 12-team playoff. I think we'll get a lot less of that. But they're still a fun team to watch. They usually have a really explosive offense. Wisconsin, Their product is pretty much good every year. It's not always the best. It's rarely the worst. It's always right in the middle. But I'm going to pick Wisconsin, but I will watch that game. And I can't imagine I'm going to be doing anything else December 25th at 9:15. Excitability score probably a 6, but I'll probably watch it. All right, December 28th, we got another group of 4 playing here. 4 games in a row. Military Bowl, Duke versus UCF. December 28th at 2 o'clock p.m. I'm not going to lie. I will watch this game. And I'll pull for Duke. I don't know why. I cannot stand Duke basketball. But I also think UCF, they talk too much trash this year. And so I'm going to pull for Duke. I think that could be a really good game. And I would not be shocked a bit if UCF beats them. But I anticipate that to be a close game. And I will pull for Duke. Excitability score, because it involves ACC teams and a Florida team, that's probably going to be in the 6.5 to 7. That same day, December 28th, 5:30 p.m., the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, Arkansas versus Kansas, another one that I will enjoy watching. This is a good day of bowl games, guys. This is the best day so far, looking ahead of the next 2 games. Kansas, again, a lot like Oklahoma State, got off to the best start they've ever had. I say ever. I don't know that. I'm not a historian. But they got off to a really good start. Then they hit the meat of their schedule and struggled a little bit, but I would say that the Kansas Jayhawks consider this football season a success. And they're playing Arkansas, which I don't know if he's still there, but I know Browse, who used to be the offensive coordinator for 3 years. I don't remember how long he was there at Florida State. I am not a Browse fan for reasons that if you only know if you grew up with me at Sweetwater, Texas, and you played with me on the Sweetwater Mustangs, and you played the Stephenville Yellow Jackets, and that is where he's from. But I've never met him. I'm assuming he's a pretty good dude. But that being said, I think, I got to pick him. I think Kansas will make it a game. I think that's going to be, I think those 2 games, Duke versus UCF and Arkansas versus Kansas, I think we've got a good chance of back-to-back, last possession, possible overtime games. But I am going to pick Arkansas in that one right there. All right, then the Holiday Bowl, one of the destinations that Florida State had a shot to go to. Holiday Bowl, again, is a lot like what I talked about the Independence Bowl. I've got great memories of always enjoying watching the Holiday Bowl. This year, it's December 28th at 7 o'clock my time, 8 o'clock Eastern. Oregon versus North Carolina. My guess is, and I don't have who's favored on here, my guess is Oregon is favored. North Carolina, I don't feel like they are quite as good as what everybody thought they might be. I know they've got the Heisman possible competition at quarterback for who I believe will be in the Heisman hunt with Jordan Travis, so quarterback there, North Carolina. But I'm going to pick Oregon. Now, with Kenny Dillingham leaving, that might mess them up a little. I didn't really think about that. Do any listeners know, has he already left, or is he coaching the bowl game? Because I do think that matters when you are the play caller, which I believe at Oregon he was the play caller. So I think that'll change things up. And I'm a big Mac Brown fan. I think Mac Brown does things right. So I will probably be pulling for North Carolina. They're not an ACC team that I feel has ever reached the level of hate for me as a Florida State fan, because even when they've been good, that's been a team we've still kind of had their number most of the time. So I'm going to pull for North Carolina, but I'm going to pick Oregon. All right, and then after that, what a day, man. That's a great day. The Texas Bowl. Texas Tech versus Ole Miss, December 28th at 9 o'clock p.m. Yes, and I did go to Texas Tech. If you know me, you've always heard me say my mind was at My body was at Texas Tech. My heart and mind was at Florida State. I have no loyalty to Texas Tech, even though my youngest son, he's 11, and he got to go to a couple Tech games this year and had an absolute blast. And I think he has kind of become a Tech fan. And so because of him, I will probably pull for Texas Tech. I'm going to pick Ole Miss. And Lane Kiffin's always fun to watch. And he's always fun to listen to because he can talk trash with the best of them. But that is going to be a fun game. I think we've got a chance of 3 out of 4, possibly 4 out of 4 last possession, down to the wire games that day. But in that last one there, and that's probably the highest excite score I've got so far for a whole day. And I think the Texas Tech versus Ole Miss game is going to be a lot of fun to watch. I read at one point there was a chance Florida State played Texas Tech, and I get if you're not in the West Texas area, Texas Tech does not have just so much appeal. But I think the Florida State fans, if that would have happened, would have enjoyed that game. I think they would have seen, Tech fans are very passionate, and Texas Tech kids play really hard. They are not remotely, in my opinion, on the caliber that we bring to Florida State, but they do. I think they are overachievers. The coach at Texas Tech, the first-year coach, Joe McGuire, is an ex-Texas high school football coach that got his team, Cedar Hill, to the state championship many times and is beyond respected and liked in the state of Texas. And I'm just saying all that because I just want to let Florida State fans know if you ever do play Texas Tech, it's going to be a better experience and a lot more fun than I think what you think. Even though, I'm no different, I kind of – When I was here in Florida State, Texas, that was more appealing to me just because of the national brand. But I do promise you, if you guys watch the Texas Tech play, you would see it. They're a pretty fun team to watch. So I'll pull for Texas Tech. I'm going to pick Ole Miss. That's an excite scale of about 9 because I think that's going to be a really good game. All right, December 29th, the day, baby. Let's start with the Pinstripe Bowl at 2:00 p.m. I'm glad we're the second game. I'm not going to lie. Sorry, I was just seeing that there's a good one after us and a decent one before. Syracuse versus Minnesota. Syracuse is one of those stories, a lot like what I talked about with Kansas, a lot like what I talked about with Oklahoma State. They got off to a fantastic start. Their schedule kind of allowed them to do so. Syracuse is another team that I have no reason to dislike. I always want them to lose to us. I never pull for them, nor do I pull against them. They're playing Minnesota. My guess is Minnesota's favored. That coach, I think that's still P.J. Fleck. I'm not 100% sure. I think he's still there. If I'm wrong, I apologize. But, he is an energetic guy. He reminds me of kind of what Mike Norvell is to Florida State. I think he is all about culture at Minnesota. I think he recruits special kind of guy that fit into his personality to come to Minnesota. So I think they're going to stay pretty good. I don't think they'll ever be competing for the national championship, but I don't think they'll ever be a bad football team. So I'm going to pick Minnesota. I'll watch it, and honestly, I will be one of those watches where I just hope for a good game. Whoever wins, but maybe it'll be a good game. Excitability score, maybe a 5.5. All right, the Cheez-It Bowl, December 29th, 5:30 p.m., Florida State versus Oklahoma. All right, excite score, 2 million. Can't wait for that one. All right. I am picking Florida State because I will never not pick Florida State. I am pulling for Florida State. Ever since I became a Florida State fan in 1986, no matter how they did, the next year I picked them to win the national championship. Yes, even in the Taggart area, just because I'm a loyal dude. Did I really think they were going to win it? No, I'm smart. But people would say, Ritchey, how are they going to be? They're going to win the national championship. I cannot wait for this game. For me, being from so close to Lubbock, it would have been more exciting for them to play Texas Tech. I get that Oklahoma is the national brand. They would have been my third choice. I would have picked Texas first, Texas Tech second, Oklahoma third if we were going to play a Big 12 team. The thing that I do like about playing Oklahoma is it is Venables. And, of course, we have history with him, and I do hope we put it on him a little. Oklahoma has a bunch of kids, I believe, that have transferred out or have opted out, so I don't think they're going to be at full strength. I think it's a much bigger game to Florida State, but I do think it's a bigger game to Oklahoma than it would have been had this just been a bad year under Lincoln Riley. I think that they do want to show. I think Venables and his staff will persuade and coach those kids to want to show that Oklahoma has not fallen off because obviously he wants to keep that job. So I do think Oklahoma will put on a good showing. I was at the national championship game when Florida State and Oklahoma played, and obviously that left a bad taste in all of our mouths. So I do hope we get a little revenge for that. We still have some questions in the air about who's going to play. I mean, right now, all I hear is good things, that even if Jared Verse isn't coming back, I have not heard he's not playing in the bowl game. Jamie said he's playing in the bowl game. Fabian has not said he's not playing in the bowl game. Obviously, all the guys that are coming back from Jordan Travis to Trey Benson to all those guys, they're going to play. The question mark for me, if you know me at all, you know I'm just the biggest Trayshawn Ward fan in the world. I am hoping he is not the odd man out that decides to transfer out. I don't know that I want Toafili to either. And I realize with Rodney Hill coming up, we have a ridiculously quality and crowded running back room. But, man, do I love me some Trayshawn Ward. So I hope he suits up. But I've even seen that the guys that have entered the portal for us are still suited up going through bowl practices. And I think that's just a tribute to the culture that Mike Norvell has built there. But trust me when I tell you, this, the phone will be off, the doors will be locked, and I will be enjoying that game. I was going to come, but scheduling with the person that was going to go with me didn't work out. So and it's not like I am an extremely wealthy individual. And so we kind of had to pick. So we do plan to be at the FSU-LSU game for next year instead of this one. So, and I'll be honest, I really think that will be a matchup of preseason top 10 teams. And depending on who LSU starts at quarterback, before their last game, I kept saying, well, I think Jaden Daniels and Jordan Travis will be in the Heisman conversation. But that quarterback that came in for LSU that day looked just as good as Jaden Daniels. So I don't even know what quarterback will be playing, but I will be at the FSU-LSU game. But back to December 29th, 5:30 p.m. Go Noles, Florida State all day long. Can't wait to watch it. Just watching our guys play is when I'm at my happiest, so can't wait for that. And then when it's over, I really like this because one of my favorite things about watching Florida State is when they win and there's another good game coming on after them. It just makes for a really fun day. And to know that Washington versus Texas comes on after us, that's exciting because I just think we're all going to be in a really good mood when the Florida State game ends. So the Valero Alamo Bowl, and the Alamo Bowl is another bowl that I enjoy watching every year. I feel like it's always a quality matchup, a quality game. I don't know what Texas has playing in the portal, what they have going. I don't know who else declared the running back. Obviously, if he plays, he's really fun to watch. Washington, I got to watch them a few times late at night this year. They're pretty fun to watch. I think that's going to be a really good game, December 29th at 9 o'clock p.m. I'm going to pick Texas, but it would not surprise me one bit if Washington keeps that really close. So, man, what a good game. 3 really good games on December 29th. Go Noles. All right. Now we've moved on to December 30th and another heavy slate of games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games this day. Starting with the Duke's Mayo Bowl, NC State versus Maryland. I will not lie, of all of the bowl talk before Florida State knew we were going to the Cheez-It Bowl, this was the one I really didn't want us to go to. There's just something about playing top-tier Big Ten team, but not one of the big Big Ten teams. And going to the Mayo Bowl, Duke's Mayo Bowl, just didn't do a lot for me. So I'm glad we didn't go. NC State, I've never been a huge fan of. They have been a thorn in Florida State's side more times than they should have, so I will definitely root against them. For Maryland, we have a couple ex-FSU Seminoles playing for Maryland, so that's an easy pull for me. I think it will be very close, but I am picking and pulling for Maryland. Excitability score, probably a 6. I'll watch it if I'm not doing anything else. All right, Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. The Sun Bowl, like the Independence Bowl and the Holiday Bowl are for me, the Sun Bowl is for my father for some reason. That was a bowl when he was growing up. He really enjoyed watching on TV every year. And so I know he really looks forward to it, and that makes me really look forward to it. Florida State played it a few years ago. If they didn't go to the Cheez-It Bowl, because honestly, guys, I thought if it was in Orlando, I was going to be able to come. I thought if it was in San Diego, I thought I was going to be able to go. But I knew for sure if they played in El Paso, that's about a 6-hour drive. I knew for sure I'd be there. I never really thought it was a chance for Florida State this year. I thought we'd be picked up way before the Sun Bowl had its turn to pick. But it wouldn't have made me mad. All right, Pitt versus UCLA, December 30th at 2 o'clock p.m. Pitt is a hard team for me to really care about. They're just blah. And so I don't really ever pull for them. UCLA, I liked Chip Kelly back in his Oregon days. I don't really know if I care for him. When he went to the NFL, you kind of saw maybe you didn't like him as much as I thought I did. But I'll still pick UCLA. I think it'll be a fairly close game. I think both of those first two games on December 30th will be close. NC State versus Maryland, even though I picked Maryland, I think that's going to be super tight. Pitt versus UCLA, I'm saying it's close, picking UCLA. Excite score probably a 5. Again, I'll watch it unless I got something else I got to go do. All right, the Gator Bowl. Notre Dame versus South Carolina. December 30th, 3:30, another bowl, the Gator Bowl that Florida State was mentioned for at one point. All right, so here's the thing. One of my good friends that I worked with at Castleberry is a gigantic South Carolina fan. I knew at one point there was talk that we might play South Carolina. I thought that would be a really fun matchup. My hope was we either played South Carolina or a Big 12 team, just because I think Big 12 teams are more fun than bottom to mid-tier Big 10 and SEC teams. Now, South Carolina ended the year really well, really positive. So did Notre Dame. I do not like Notre Dame. Never have. My brother-in-law is the biggest Notre Dame fan in the world. He still rubs it into me. Notre Dame, Florida State, 93. The day I quit United. And I still think that's why we lost, because my manager at United tried to not let me off to watch the game, so I had to quit, and it was his fault. And I still think that bad juju is what cost us. Guys, I cannot yell for Notre Dame, and I cannot pick Notre Dame. So I'm going to pick South Carolina, even though I'm not just the biggest SEC fan in the world. I think it's going to be tight. I really think that's going to be a fun game to watch. And that's at 3:30 on December 30th, and we are picking South Carolina. That's a watcher from me. That's in that group of about 5 to 6 games that I will try to organize my day around. So that's an excite score of about an 8. Like December 29th, I probably won't do anything but sit in my house all day long. Those other days, I'll schedule around, but I'll try to be sitting in my living room at 3:30 on December 30th to watch Notre Dame versus South Carolina. Unfortunately, after that, the excite score for that next game drops substantially. We have the Barstool Sports Arizona Bowl, Ohio versus Wyoming. Oh, actually, it's at the exact same time as the other one. That saves me. I don't have to watch it. That does not sound exciting to me at all. I don't know anything about either team. This is who I will pick. Excite score 1. I'm picking Wyoming because I love going camping in Grand Teton National Park. It's one of the prettiest places in the world. So we'll go with Wyoming because I'll be able to think of mountains and moose and lakes. I have no idea who would be. I'm just looking at that thing. I don't know nothing about that. Wyoming, December 30th. Won't watch a lick of it. All right, but that night, we're back to good. The Capital One Orange Bowl. Tennessee versus Clemson, December 30th at night. I'm still mad at Tennessee because I think we were better the year they beat us. So I've never liked them, but I cannot stand Clemson. So I will pull for Tennessee. I will pick Tennessee. I will watch that game. That's an excite score of probably a 7. I wish Tennessee had their quarterback because he was really fun to watch. I assume this is going to be a good read for all of us Florida State fans now that the DJ era is officially over. The Klubnik, is that how you say his name? He is from Texas. I saw him play last year in the Texas High School State Football Championships. I'm not going to lie. When I watched him, he didn't scare me. A lot of times there's a Florida State commit in playing at those games in Texas. There's a lot of Alabama commits. He was a Clemson commit. And so I watched him really closely. And I thought he was good. Do not get me wrong. He was good. But I didn't watch him and think, okay, so compare it to the days of Kyler Murray, guys. I saw Kyler Murray play for many years in Texas. And for those that don't know the legend of Kyler Murray, I'm not saying I'm a fan of him. I don't even know him. But he was a winner in Texas high school football. And when you watch Kyler Murray, it was an event. All right, people, all of the games at AT&T for the state football championships are packed, but that one would be standing room only because Kyler Murray was a spectacle. All right, so compare it to watching this kid from Clemson that's now at Clemson. It wasn't that. He was just another quarterback playing on a day of really good players. But that being said, when they have put him in this year, I've been pretty impressed with him. And I would rather Dabo had kept trying to force DJ down people's throats. But unfortunately, it looks like those days are over. So that'll be a good read for us to see how good Clemson's going to be with their new quarterback. Go Tennessee. All right, the next day, New Year's Eve. Now, I will not be going out New Year's Eve. 2 reasons. I'm old, and I realize New Year's Eve is the most dangerous night of the year, so I will be planted somewhere safely. And the other reason is because they put the college football playoff games on New Year's Eve, which I think is a mistake. Because if we all did want to go do something for New Year's Eve, we can't because we got to watch these college football playoff games. But anyway, let's get to it. December 31st at noon, Kentucky versus Iowa am I right? Yep, in the Music City Bowl. Now, I went to the Music City Bowl when we played. I believe we played Kentucky that year, and I had a lot of fun. So that's another bowl game. No matter who plays in it, I enjoy watching. I don't like Iowa at all. Nothing against them. I'm just saying they always seem very boring to me to watch. I think Kentucky, I would not be opposed to their coach being a part of Florida State staff against, he's been mentioned so many times. Their defense is solid. I'll pull for and I'll pick Kentucky December 31st at noon. I think that's going to be a really close game, though. It'll be fun to watch. Excite scores like a 6.5 or 7. It's early, so I'll finish my workout. I'll have it on as soon as I get home, and then I'll probably sit down as the game gets later in it, and I see how close it is to watch the rest of it. Oh, man, maybe I won't, because at the exact same time on ESPN, we have the All-State Sugar Bowl, Alabama versus K-State. I think that's going to be a really fun game to watch at noon. Alabama is the prototypical team of the theory I talk about all the time. If Alabama is not in the college football playoff, I don't ever feel like we get the best Alabama team. Right now, more than any other school, I guess you could put Ohio State in this category. Florida State used to be in this category. We may be moving back towards this category. But right now, if you're a college football player and you pick Alabama, you pick it to win championships. And so when you're not even in the discussion of it and you have no shot to make it, which that's the case this year, I don't think you see peak Alabama. And K-State, again, speaking to my friends in Florida that are Florida State people, K-State's a Big 12 team that unless you see them regularly, because we do in West Texas, they are on a lot because of Big 12. They are fun to watch. I would encourage all of my Florida State fans, if you haven't watched them, to watch them. They are a run-oriented team. They're gritty. A lot like what I said about Texas Tech. They are typically overachievers that play really hard and represent their university really well, just like what I said about Texas Tech. So I'm going to pick K-State. I'm going to pull for K-State. I am a Nick Saban fan. I don't know if that is popular or not. But I think this is a huge deal for Kansas State. It's a much bigger game for Kansas State than it is for Alabama, and I think they'll play that accordingly. So I'm picking K-State. Man, that's 2 really good games. I'll have both TVs. I have 2 TVs in my living room, so I'll have both of those games on that day. That's at noon. All right. Then we get to the biggins on that day. The Fiesta Bowl, college football playoff semifinal number 1, Michigan versus TCU. That one's at 4 o'clock. All right, I have a nephew who is a senior at TCU, and he is not one of those kids that went to school and athletics and big football was like, he's at all of them. He is, he is a Horned Frog fan. He literally was one of the ones storming the courts in basketball and storming the field in football. He's that rabbit of a TCU fan. I also have a best friend here who is to Michigan like I am to Florida State. Michigan is his Florida State. And when I say best friend, he's probably one of my top 2 closest friends. So I got to either go against my nephew, whom I love, or my best friend. Well, I'm going to go, drum roll please, I'm going to split the difference here. I'm going to pull for TCU. So I'll be siding with my nephew. I'm going to pick Michigan. Would I be surprised if TCU wins this game? I will not. I will tell you, TCU is going to bring their A game. If you haven't watched TCU play, What we saw in the Big 12 championship really shocked me because I thought they would play better. They looked very tight. They looked very nervous. They looked not unprepared, but the moment seemed too big for them, and that is not prototypical TCU. Typically, TCU rises up and plays their best in big-time situations. I just think I think this Michigan team, and I remember telling my friend when I was watching them play a couple times on TV, I told him this one's different. They look different. They even look different than they did, the last few years. I'm picking Michigan, pulling for Tennessee. Pulling for TCU. Height, excite scale, that's a 9. I'll watch it for sure. All right, Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, Georgia versus Ohio State. I think this is going to be okay. So here's the thing: typically college football playoff games, semifinals end up not being that close. I think both of these have a chance to be close. I will pick Georgia. I do not like Ohio State. I never have because of Urban Meyer. I think they're fun to watch. I just don't like them. I don't love Georgia, even though Kirby's there. I've never really loved Georgia. I think that I would like Georgia to come back down to reality a little in the recruiting world because they still, to me, are them and Alabama and Ohio State. Just they get too many of them. They need to be spread around a little bit, but props to them for being able to pull that off. I won't yell for either one of them. I will hope they both lose, knowing that one of them's got to win the game. I'll hope for a really good game in that one. That would be my hope. Georgia and Ohio State, if that went to triple overtime, that would make me happy. But I'm going to pick Georgia. So on my picks, I'll have Michigan and Georgia in the college football playoff championship, but we're not even going to talk about that because we'll wait and see who it actually is. If I could pick who I would want, I think I'd rather watch TCU and Ohio State. But I just think we'll be watching Michigan and Georgia. All right, and then January 1st, there will be no games on. And then the 2nd, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 games. And I'll have my sons at that point, so I'm not going to lie. It'll be on some, but I'm not just going to be killing to get to the TV. I'd much rather play board games with my sons. All right, so we've got the ReliaQuest Bowl, Illinois versus Mississippi State at noon. Excitability scale, that's I don't know. I'll put it because of Mike Leach at a 5. If Mike Leach was not at Mississippi State, it'd be like a 2. But I like Mike Leach. I've always been a fan of Mike Leach. I'm gonna pick Mississippi State, even though I think Illinois had a really good team this year. I think that's going to be a really close game. I'll pick Mississippi State. After that, you had the Cotton Bowl, which the Cotton Bowl used to be one of my favorite bowls to watch. Again, being a Texas kid, it was a huge deal. I wish Florida State would come back to that sometime because it's got a lot of history, even though I think they played at AT&T Stadium now. It's still the Cotton Bowl. We got Tulane versus USC. I am picking USC. I am pulling hard for Tulane. Several reasons. Underdog, check. I went and visited Tulane one time, just walking around, and happened their stadium was unlocked, and I was just kind of exploring. And so I walked in the stadium, fully expecting to be told I have to leave because I was trespassing. Instead, their head coach was there that day, and it is not their current head coach. This is a while back. And instead of asking me to leave, he found out that at the time I was a Texas high school football coach, and he ended up taking me on a tour of the whole facility, the whole complex, their offices, the weight room. There was no one else there that day. But, man, what a nice place and what a nice guy and what a good experience. So I will be pulling very hard for Tulane. I would love for them to keep it close. I'd love for Caleb Williams to, since he won the Heisman last night, to go ahead and go pro. Because I think he's one of the few people that could keep Jordan Travis from winning the Heisman, and I hope he doesn't. So I'm pulling for Tulane, picking USC. That game will be on my TV. That's an exciting game. I would say about a 6 on the excite scale. At the same time, the Citrus Bowl, LSU versus Purdue. The only reason that game has any appeal to me is that we play LSU to start the year next year, and I would like to kind of see what I think they're going to look like. I'm not a Brian Kelly fan. I'm not an LSU fan. I'm not a Purdue fan. Nothing about that's appealing other than what I just said. I'll pick LSU. I'm not pulling for anybody. I really don't. It doesn't matter to me who wins that game. Probably LSU so they can be ranked higher when we play them next year. There you go. Excitability scale, 4. All right, and then Rose Bowl, January 2nd at 5 o'clock. I love the Rose Bowl. My dad loves the Rose Bowl. It's always a fun game to watch. Utah versus Penn State. Unfortunately, that matchup doesn't appeal greatly to me. I've always been blah on Penn State. I've never just cared too much about Utah. I'll watch it. It'll be on. My Christmas tree will be lit up still, and my sons and I will be doing fun things in the house while it's on my TV. If it is close towards the end, we'll sit down and watch it. I'll pick Utah. Excitability scale, maybe a 5, but I'll pick Utah. And then we'll pick the College Football National Championship when we know who the teams are. Guys, that was long. Go Florida State. Thank you for sitting in on this, and we'll see how I do. Enjoy your Christmas, because I will not be back on here before then. Have a Merry Christmas, and we will see everybody December 29th with the instant reaction after the Florida State Seminoles whip up on the Oklahoma Sooners. Merry Christmas.